Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today. Hi, Becky here. This Market Mamas Trading Psychology podcast offers me an incredible opportunity to bring on other traders as my guests, to talk out our journeys, share tips, and grow together through the uniquely awesome world that is day trading. Today, I am so privileged to welcome back as my guest for part 2 of our trading conversations, my good friend Peter Koo. Peter is an attorney who specializes in intellectual property law, commercial transactions, and corporate law. Peter is currently the executive vice president and general counsel of Excel Health, Inc., a healthcare provider based in Washington State that owns and operates ambulatory surgical centers in Aliso Viejo in Southern California and Honolulu, Hawaii. Peter was first a guest on this podcast in early January of this year. So if you miss that episode, you're going to want to go back after this one and get caught up because it held so many helpful tips and words of wisdom. And to be honest, Peter and I could and have talked for hours and hours on all things trading, both just he and I, and then also within our trading community. Hence, it was really only natural that we need multiple episodes to really cover so many important topics for traders that we want to bring forth for you all as like our gift to the greater trading world. So without further ado, let's get right back into it. Thank you so much for being here with me again, Peter.
Oh, thank you, Becky. Thank you for inviting me. I think some of our deeper conversations in trading were when you came and visited us, right? You drove up here from Portland, spent the weekend with us, and we would just spend the whole weekend, right?
It gives me such fond memories, especially of your wife, because she would hang for a lot of them and then she would like have to peace out because she'd be like, you guys are like 3 hours deep into talking trading. I'm going to go, take care of some things. Right. I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Really enjoyable.
Grace, my wife, Grace loves you. So thank you for doing that. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, I plan to come up. Yeah, I want to bring my whole family and introduce them and hang out.
Yeah, bring your husband, bring the kids. Mm-hmm. That'll be so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. They get a little FOMO from my trading trips, but I'm like, I need this time with other traders because, I mean, that's a big reason why you are coming on this show because like it's so valuable to talk to other traders about trading. You know, it's like people in the business, like get it like nobody else does.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people will find what we share, interesting and useful, right? So
I think they will. So why don't we just like get into like strategy? Because what I love about your training, Peter, is that you really dial it in. You focus, you study, you take notes, and you actually have, how many strategies would you say you prioritize and try to execute?
Yeah, I would say right now it's probably 2. Okay, I used to have a lot more, but if I have to backtrack a little bit, I have to give some credit to the fellow who got me started trading. His name is Seth Miller. Okay, and he and Jermaine are the 2 finest traders I know. Okay. He got me into trading. Seth is super fast. He's brilliant. He does all kinds of stuff. He trades options and currencies and, stuff that takes a lot of sophistication. To your question though, like for me, right, I have found that trading is most effective for me when I keep it really simple, right? So as you know, I trade one instrument now, which is the Dow futures. Okay. Symbol is YM. I generally just look for 2 strategies, okay? And it's a permutation of them that maybe gives rise to other trades. So it's basically break structure and then retest and then the rhythm trade. Okay, those are my bread and butter, okay? And things that I trade that are kind of, variations of that pop up occasionally. But if I see those, and particularly if they're supported by, levels that we draw or higher time frame zones, I find that they can be very, very, very reliable for the type of trading that you and I do, which is day trading, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And sometimes, as you know, 2 strategies, right, Becky? Sometimes we're in trades for, less than a minute. And sometimes we're in trades for like an hour, right? Mm-hmm. But the way that we trade, we're out of all our positions by the end of the day. But that's the nature of kind of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like the idea of dialing it in and being specific about what your setup looks like, because then it's just so much, you can have so much more confidence when you execute your strategy.
Yeah.
And for me, I do similar. I don't know that I would just say it's two, but more so that I like to identify what sort of day I'm trading. And then within that day, kind of how to trade that. It's essentially the same thing. Because
Interesting.
like break and retest, I mean, that would be, that could be applicable to both trending and rotational days. But for me, I'm like, if it's looking rotational based on everything that I have going into the market open, and then at market open, if it starts supporting that early, then I want a push away and then a trade back inward, essentially the mean reversion. And then if I identify that it looks like it could be a trending, then that's similar to like a rhythm play where you want to just catch the pullback in a supportive area where you think that it can hold. So I think that as you evolve as a trader, you kind of see how your instrument moves, and then you feel it and you figure out what your setups look like, and then you can like write them out in terms of what you need to see to support which trade. And it
Yeah.
honestly feels so much better executing trades when you can have like 7 confluences sometimes of like this
Yeah. Right. Right.
fits with what's going to happen. I love that so much.
Well, let me ask you a question about
Yeah.
what you said. You said that you have your strategies based on what you're seeing, sort of market conditions, right? So, for someone who's just started, like what are the typical types of market conditions that a trader can expect to experience? Like
Mm.
looking at the bigger time frames, looking at pre-market. Like how do you analyze that?
Yeah, I think that has been years in the making from studying from different mentors, and mostly just Jermaine, mostly
Yeah.
Jermaine and within our community, right? But it is not something that you can grasp right away. So I
Yeah.
would say that market context is nuanced and takes many, 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 many days of studying the charts to understand, but it is like the basis of everything for
Yeah.
me. I'm
Yeah.
very much a contextual, discretionary, intuition based trader, because what I love is kind of looking from the larger time frames down, weekly, daily, hourly, and then from pre-market and previous days into the current day. And what I want to see is it look like we're going to rotate within a certain area, or is this a potential for a trending day from this area? And if I'm leaning one way or the other, why and what supports it, and what do I need to see to encourage me to take a certain trade in that direction. And so then
Yeah.
when the market opens, I have this written out in my morning hypothesis. And if I see XYZ, then that makes me want to utilize the strategy for that day in order to get into my trade. And then that helps me be more patient to try and wait for the setups to kind of pop. And so for me, it's mostly like a rotational context, which
Yeah.
means it could push
Yeah.
away to a 2 standard deviation band away from the mean. And then you want to see if it starts to fail there, and then you can take it back inwards towards VWAP or a point of control, versus rotation or versus a trending day or directional day, in which case it's holding on one side of VWAP for extended period of time, and it's coming down and finding support at progressively higher or lower areas based on bearish or bullish. And so in those situations, there's different things that you would look for. How is the VWAP bands moving, and what levels are we finding support on? And, you kind of just have to study it, I would say. Find a good person or people to be really authentic and open with you so that you can really say what you're seeing out loud, and then study it even more, I think is really helpful. And then you can kind of pick the things out to trade them better. Is that kind of how you have evolved too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. I love what you just said. I would say, the one thing that I've experienced, in addition to what you said, is, and everything you're saying is spot on, is that, that they're basically, I think the market conditions it can either be rotating, which is like it's a sine wave. It can be imbalance up, or it can be imbalance down. But, I think, and you've experienced too, what we see in New York session is that it'll do one or more of those, in the course of the day,
Yeah.
right? So oftentimes what we see is let's say it's imbalance up. Well, after some period of time, it gets to where it wants to go, and then there it balances for the rest of the day, right? So we've been caught up. I've been caught up. Not we. I've been caught up in the past. We think, well, it's gone up. It's going to keep going up, right? Sometimes it does, but boy, if it's made a big run, sometimes it's just going to want to take a breath and just do this for the rest of the day. And if we just keep thinking it's going to go up, we can get ourselves caught, right? So that's the interesting thing. That's marketing. Because remember when we started. By the way, everyone, our mentor is Jermaine Nepal, right? He runs our community, and he told us, look, the most important thing for you all to eventually understand is market condition, right? It's the most important thing, but it's the last thing to fall into place, you know. And when he said that, I was like, damn it, does it have to be this way? And it turns out it is the last thing to fall into place. It's the most important thing too, but it's the last thing. And it's not that. And like, I've had people say, ask me, hey, can you just draw support and resistance, right? And tell me where. And I'm like, it's just not that easy, It's just not that easy. And I wish I could. But then if that's all you do are drawing support and resistance lines and going and trading, right, you're going to, you get your ass handed to you, right, at some point.
And I'm going to be really frank and say that I think that that's the difference between traders who make it long term and traders that fizzle out is that you have to, I think in my experience with my progress, is that if you lean on one or two things, such as just support and resistance, just trend lines and moving averages, just, Elliott wave, I think that can give you an edge.
Yeah.
But it's not enough of the whole picture to really help you understand what is happening day to day and through different market conditions, different waves within the markets that we have economically. And so I think that the bigger picture, when the people who really succeed are the ones who can grasp that market condition, which is why it's so nuanced and hard to explain, because it's really just like a greater understanding of the what and why the market could do what she could do and what it looks like when she's going to do that and how to catch it in real time. And that, I don't think there's any replacement for experience and a strong mentor who understands it greater than you do. I think that if anyone can land in a situation where they're lucky enough, blessed enough to have those things and the time and the dedication and heart to stick with it, it's incredible to start to be able to see where and how she's going to move and then how you can get in those conditions.
Right. That's so right. That's so right. It kind of leads me to another topic I was hoping you and I could chat about. Yes, I don't think it's necessarily on our agenda, but it was top of mind for me because a friend asked me about it. I wanted to just bring it up, which is like, the preparation to trade. Okay. And we touched upon it last time, but it's just so important, particularly since I've gotten better at it than I used to. Right. And if you recall in the last conversation, I had mentioned when we were talking that we're traders 24 hours a day. Right. And really what that means is that, my trading psychology is so precious to me, right? That there's nothing that I will do now to in any way sacrifice that. Okay. First step was, I called it relationship hygiene, right? So if there are relationships in our life that don't support us, then they just can't. Those just have to terminate, right? Because I don't know, for other people, I don't know, but it's like, it's so important because otherwise, we're just not being very true to ourselves, right? But the thing I want to talk about was that this idea of, I told you last time that I meditate in the morning, and we all do. We all meditate. My process takes an hour, and I practice something called Kriya Yoga. Okay, that was taught to me, through a saint, right, named Master Paramahansa Yogananda through the Self-Realization Center. And the meditation trick, though, is not the meditation, because when I started, to be honest, and I'm airing my dirty laundry, I was like, okay, meditation check, it's out of the way, right? Okay, and now go on to and then when I would get on the charts, Becky, like, the how do I say this? The emotions would take over, right? And I was watching a video lately that talked about, that mentioned the term called emotional integrity, and I don't like that term. I like it because the idea is then, if then one is trading emotionally, one doesn't have integrity, and I think that's not very supportive or helpful. I think the idea is that when I say the meditation is something I want to take onto the charts with me. Okay, so the peacefulness that I have, I want to take onto the chart. My connection it is to I call to God, to the higher self. To in this practice that I have, I want that to stay with me. So to the extent I come out of meditation in peace and I'm very connected to divinity, so to speak, to the extent that I can keep that and trade with that, then the emotional, how do you say, the part of me that can be manically emotional, it won't show up in my trading. Okay. But boy, Becky, it's taken years to get there. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just kind of talk. That's kind of my sort of process. And I know you go through a similar thing. What does yours look like?
Yeah. And I think emotional integrity, I think maybe a better term is emotional awareness, because
yes, that's better. That's better.
Yeah, I mean, and it's better and it's more realistic because we are human. So you literally cannot be a
Yeah.
human without emotions. Like it's just
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't exist
Well,
unless you're, I guess, a sociopath. But I mean, you're going to have them, and so to have the best kind of awareness and ability to manage them appropriately, I think is what's required. And so I am nowhere near as studied as you in meditation or visualization, but I have also been recommended it and educated on it by a few very key people in my life, namely you and Jermaine
thank
and
you.
Waji actually have really and Yeshwant, right? So the
Oh,
four of you
Yashwan's
have been,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, such an
Yeah.
amazing influence to me, to a world that I never knew
Yeah.
and don't thoroughly understand. But I definitely see the value of being able to quiet your mind and be more aware of your whole body. And I think that that is what mindfulness and meditation can offer. And I'm still working on it, but I definitely, you know, we're Pacific Coast, and so the market opens at 6:30 in the morning. And so I am not an early riser. Good Lord. Before I trade on my days off, I'm like, I will sleep in as long as the kids are not literally dragging me out of bed at like 9 in the
Yeah.
morning. And so now to get up early, I can't do a full hour process in the morning as much as I have tried, but I absolutely prioritize it. But I will do a shortened version. I will do like 10 minutes when I first wake up, because I have read research that has shown that the first 10 minutes of your day is critical in how you approach everything in that day. It's like you want to wake up and have the first thoughts in your mind to be positive, calming, supportive, empowering. And for me, I think that that's very true. I can wake up and carry over worries or just jump straight to a massive to-do list, or heaven forbid, pull up social media or some crap that is like, junk food for my mind. All of those things make my day set up for not ideal outcomes. But so that's why I try and immediately put my AirPods in and then put on a track that I've actually recorded or have found online that has been really helpful. And I just try and direct my thoughts into peace and supportive and empowering and visualization and affirmations, and try and just stay really mindful and meditate into that. And for me, being new to real silence, which I think you and Jermaine have both mentioned on Market Mamas and then within our community, like, I don't know how to get silent yet. So if you don't know how to get silent yet, you're my people, and I'm working on it too. But I think that maybe a middle ground to that, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're more experienced with this, but a middle ground to that would be to just not be negative and self-deprecating in any way, and instead try and just be empowering and supportive and excited. So that's kind of how I approach it, with not being a super early riser also.
Well, I tell you, it's definitely a work in progress for all of us. By the way, our friend that you just mentioned, the really other fine trader, Yeshwan,
Mm-hmm.
he also practices Kriya Yoga. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same meditation practice that I do, right? So, just wanted to just give a shout out to him. Yeah, it's interesting. Like quieting the mind, right, is really important, right? Because what did you mentioned this? I think in a call, but you were reading something or watching something. It says like if you go in the charts and um, you're looking for a reason to trade, you'll find it. Okay, but it may. I think you said that right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that it's your A plus setup, right? Right. And so it's important then the sort of the importance of being patient and thoughtful, and patient and patient and patient.
Patient and patient. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So easy to say, so hard to do. With regard to the trading psychology, I wanted to mention one more thing. This is on our agenda, right? But um, because I had some bad experiences, right? But I was like, I wanted to talk about the importance of not talking about trading to other people. Okay. And these are people who are not traders. Okay. So oftentimes what you'll hear from people, let's say you start the trading and day trading and you're very excited and you go talk to people. And then, what you mostly people will get is some very negative opinions about what day trading is, and I'm, I can be pretty harsh, right, with people, and when people say something really stupid to me, I will say something back like, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't trade. You don't know what the hell you're doing, right? You're going to lose all your money. So yeah, don't do this, right? But that doesn't mean you should tell anybody else what to do. You know, you and I shouldn't go fly, an F-14 fighter pilot or fighter jet, right? Why? Because we're not in a training. right? We don't know what we're doing and we would die, right? Same is true for trading, same is true for every other. You're an ER nurse, right? Like I shouldn't be walking into, you know, an emergency room and trying to treat someone. Like I've had no training, right? So for someone to say that, it's more, I would say, particularly for beginner traders, right? When people say something, they're more talking about themselves, like we can't do that, or I've heard that, or I'm like, okay, I think the best thing to do is just not talk about it unless there's somebody that where there's some level of trust there, because that can be, and when one is starting in particular, that can be kind of devastating, right? To hear that, particularly you think that this person's a good friend, you're very excited, they talk, and all of a sudden it's like a bucket of ice, right? Yeah. What do you have? You've had that too, right, Becky?
So much, Peter. Okay, so two things you said.
Okay.
So a few, oh. So earlier, a few minutes ago, you had mentioned about people who having relationships and people that you care about previously who just don't understand it and support it, and you have to have relationship hygiene and potentially cut them out. I also agree, and I think that you just have to really filter the heck out of them, because there are some people in my life that are, I don't feel as if I can cut them out. And so for me, I have to compartmentalize like a mad woman. Like, so, like I can love you and support you and want you to have a fulfilled and happy life for you, and recognize that that's nothing like mine, and that
Right.
we don't understand each other's drives and purposes, and still like love them, wish them the best, and maybe see them on a Saturday here and there when it fits with schedules. And so I feel like that's how I've had to, I don't know, I guess it's my bleeding heart, maybe, I don't know, but I've never been able to like straight cut people, very seldomly anyways. And so that, for me, I've been able like to compartmentalize, I would say, those type of
Sure.
people. But the vast majority of people in my life are what you just said, where they just don't freaking get it. And to be honest, before I started trading, most of my friends are, school parents of my children or nursing. Those are the two worlds that I am in most of the time. And so that's who I see. And so that's who my friend group has evolved to over the years. And, when I started learning this, I was so excited. Like I loved trading. And I feel like I can freely say this because literally none of them watch this podcast, because that's the thing, right? If people don't support you unless they understand it, and something about what you're doing makes them feel better about their situation, which I've had to learn. Sometimes you just have to be unapologetically yourself, because there's people from my previous life, and maybe our trading viewers will feel this too, because I think you can come from a different world and then learn trading and fall in love with it and start to learn it and get really good and be engrossed in that culture, and have almost no one, 5% of your world around you in your real life, people you interact with, understand it. And for me, that has been the situation. And a lot of times, like at work, people are like, oh, how's it going? Like I get the energy that they almost want to hear that, like it's bombing and it sucks and I never should have done it. Cause then that would validate, their
Yes.
stance of not trying for something, wild and crazy and different. And so I have to be like, these people are my nursing friends or my school mom friends. And we're going to talk about those topics that are also dear to my heart and dear to their hearts. And we don't have the crossover of trading. And so I've definitely had to I just don't talk to people about it anymore. Like I have learned that I bring my excitement to it, and they're just like,
Exactly. Exactly.
stop there.
Exactly. Well, it's out of trading by definition is outside the comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just your comfort zone; it's the people with whom you speak to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep it at a bare minimum, for that reason. It's just, they don't know, and it's not important to me that I speak to them, the people that I need to speak to, like you and Jermaine, and they people know and they understand. They know how hard the journey, is. So yeah, good. Well, thanks for sharing that. Eh?
I think that's a big part of it too, Peter, if I could, because what you just said is like, they know how hard it is, but they also understand the drive to it.
Right.
And to anyone watching this who feels that way as well, like that's a whole big picture, right? That's a complicated mess of a journey to be like, this is super hard and I could lose a lot of money, and it's kind of scary at times, and it keeps me up at night, and I worry sometimes if I'm really doing the damn thing right. But then there's also the other side of like, I'm learning that there's a way, and I actually have skill, and I have people around me that are supportive. And this is a real thing that people do and become millionaires at doing. And there's nothing to stop me from doing that. And so I think that the complexities of what a day trading journey is so powerful. And so if you can get people around you that really understand that complex part of it,
Yeah.
that is so important to kind of be validating that you're not actually like crazy, right? Because someone could say like, this is wild that you're choosing to put yourself in that situation, but it's
Right.
not that I'm choosing to endure some sort of like masochistic pain that will never be anything but pain. It's not that. It's that, you have a tolerance of pain for something that can be better based on experience and what effort you've put in. So it's
Right.
different.
Right. Well, you and I have talked about this, but it's like, the pot at the end of the day trading, rainbow
Mhm.
is that one can work like, an hour, maybe 2 hours a day. And work, I mean, time on the charts. One can put time on the charts, which is 1 or 2 hours, and make as much as someone who, as someone who's a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, you know, um, you know, certainly easily in the six figures, yeah, in the seven figures for some, it's a year. Okay. And so that the idea that's very seductive, right? But the journey to get there is highly nonlinear, as we know, right? And it involves what is really hard, and I'm going to ask you about this too, because I'd love to get your perspective. It involves a lot of looking oneself in the mirror, okay? Because when you have had losing days, I've called you when I've had very bad losing days, and you've been very supportive, but there's no one to blame, right? Like it's not like I can blame the market, right? The market does what the market does, right? And Becky, you and I know the best trader we know is Jermaine, right? And my friend Seth. But it's like, you know, you know, I think 1 month his success rate in terms of win losses was about 50%. Okay, less than 50%, it's like 47%. But the idea that you could be a 47% trader and make a killing in the markets, you know, that that means you really, the this emotional part, right? The emotional discipline, right, is off the charts, right? Which means, as you and I have been, going through all these exercises with them, is like, uh, uh, can we take a loss, right? How do we feel when we take a loss? How do we feel when we lose money, right? Do we feel stupid? And then in the end, this sort of a part of the end, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Do we actually, at some level, deep down, feel like we're worthy of that? And the idea that a lot of people who start trading like don't, right? But that the trading is going to, maybe make one feel better or worthy. It's kind of backwards. It's like, if we're not, then that reflects itself in trading. And then to get there, right, we kind of have to be there first, So it's not like good trading is going to make us calm and peaceful and thoughtful, deliberate about trading. It's like we become calm and peaceful, thoughtful, deliberate about trading. And then, you know, and then it sort of flows, right? Does that make sense? What are your thoughts on that? I see you nodding vigorously. So,
Yeah, Peter, I completely agree with what you said because I think in the culture of most of us, especially in America, there's a sense of, we have to accomplish all of these great things. And then that will prove to us and the world that we are worthy and destined for success and, deserve to be paid whatever we're paid and have such accolades. But especially in trading, it just doesn't work that way. You have to become a successful, confident, calm, peaceful person, and then the returns come after you approach it as that person. And I think striving for wins first, and then you'll feel like you can be confident and you're worthy of the pay. It is flip flopped, and it's not as intuitive as you would think that it would be. But once we get into it, it's like I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to believe in myself. I don't want to have faith that I'm going to do this thing and have these paychecks until they're actually here. You're just constantly kind of holding yourself back, like holding yourself in a sense of lack instead of a sense of abundance. And that's that whole, abundance versus scarcity mindset, I think, playing over into like our subconscious too, because we can totally, put forth all of this work and effort. And then when you have a hard loss, you can choose, to say, it's okay. Like, I'm okay. I took a loss. Losing is a part of trading. Like, I need to learn from this. I need to air it out, and I need to still feel abundant in my life and who I am. Conversely, you could like feel like shit and like feel regret and frustration and shame and not have any forward momentum from it, and almost like degrade yourself back, hold yourself back down, instead of recognizing it's part of the journey and I'm good and I'm a skilled trader and this is going to happen and it's the ebbs and flows of this growth, and still be thankful and grateful. But it's easier said than done, especially in those moments. But I think that also comes with trader maturity too. And over time, your first several losses are going to hurt very badly. And then after you've had a couple weeks and you've recovered from those, each time you have a loss, ideally it'll be smaller and less traumatic as you grow and get better with risk management. But then also your emotional recovery will be bouncing back quicker because you will have recognized that, in July, I had this really hard setback, but then by August, I was getting payouts consistently again. So that just proves that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that carries over into trading very much so too. And so at least for myself, I think that has been part of my evolution, is recognizing that these days that once seemed catastrophic were shaping me, were teaching me, were molding me. And I recovered from every single one of them. And I'm farther along than I ever have been. And so to lean into that helps me recover quicker. So.
Totally.
Peter, you are one of my favorite humans and favorite traders, because this was a really good conversation. I mean, we just literally talked for a long time about really valuable things that have impacted us as traders and continue our momentum forward, things that have taught us and shaped us as who we are. So I really hope that everyone finds a lot of value in this conversation. We actually also talked really long time, so there's going to be 2 episodes this spring up with Peter and I, 2 halves of this conversation. And so definitely keep a lookout for the next half of this conversation that's coming out just next week, because there's more to come. I did trim it up a little bit, so hang tight for the next episode. But thank you so much, Peter. I really enjoyed having you on Market Mamas today.
Yeah, thank you, Becky. It was so much fun. Okay, and we'll do our part 3, in the near future. Okay.
Yeah, everyone take care and have a great trading week.
Thank you. Bye bye.